Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back. In this one today, we're going to be doing another zombies comparison. In this one, it's going to be Black Ops 2 versus Black Ops 4. Now, this is the first time that I'm doing this series with games, so the criteria is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to pop it up on screen right now. These are the 7 criteria that I think make a good zombies game. We have maps, weapons, mini-bosses, Easter eggs, game modes, replayability, and perks. For those of you who are new, the way that this series works is that we compare 2 different things in zombies, and using these criteria, we give 1 point to each criteria that we're going to go over, and at the end, whichever has the most points is considered the better map, game, whatever we're ranking. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Now for our first criteria, we have maps. Now with the maps on Black Ops 4, they're both really good and also really bad. You have some phenomenal maps like Ancient Evil and 9, even Togger, Totem, and Blood of the Dead to some extent I also do really like. I know a lot of people don't really like the remakes when it comes to the Ether storyline maps. To me, they aren't really too bad. I only dislike Alpha Omega and Voyage of Despair. Those are the only 2 that I really dislike when it comes to Black Ops 4. All the other maps I can manage with. Classified is a really good map just to play casual survival games on. Granted, it still is like 5 where it's a hardcore map for most people that are playing on it, but overall I don't really dislike the maps when it comes to Black Ops 4, and you still have phenomenal maps when it comes to this game as well. 9 is a really good one. I know a lot of people like 9. Personally, I don't like it too much, but I can still appreciate it. I still think it's the top 15 of all time. But then you also have Ancient Evil, which you already know is personally my favorite map of all time. I love Ancient Evil. It's a great map to constantly go back for. And Black Ops 4, even though some of the maps when it comes to certain features didn't land too well with the community, I would say overall the locations by themselves, like being on the Titanic on Voyage of Despair or the Coliseum like in 9, I think all those locations are great. So in terms of maps by themselves, Black Ops 4 is actually pretty solid. Now with Black Ops 2 on the other hand, it also has a lot of phenomenal maps. Obviously you have Origins and Mob of the Dead, which are arguably up there with some of the best maps of all time. But then you also have really bad maps. You have Transit and you have Die Rise, which Transit, really bad. Obviously a lot of people already know about Transit. And you also have Die Rise, which by itself is already a horrible map to begin for the DLC season. But overall, both of these maps just kind of put down this category a lot for Black Ops 2 because the game didn't really get rolling in terms of maps until we got to Mob of the Dead and after Jim Zielinski got put down for Jason Blundell. You do also have Buried, which is a very interesting map. I do like it somewhat, but for me, it's kind of like a middle ground. Like you have Die Rise and Transit, which are the bad maps, and then you have Mob of the Dead and Origins, which are the really good maps. For me, Buried kind of just sits in the middle where it's not really a map that I dislike, but it's not a map that I can love a lot either. So for that, I'm gonna have to give the point to Black Ops 4 for this one. I know a lot of people are probably gonna disagree with me on that, but for me personally, I find Ancient Evil to be more enjoyable than Origins and Mob of the Dead. And I also just like the maps that are on Black Ops 4 a little bit more when it comes to just map layout, aesthetic. They're just better in every way because of the location and the atmosphere. Now moving into our next category, this is going to be going to the mini bosses. Now the mini bosses on Black Ops 4 is kind of a low point when it comes to this game. You have some phenomenal ones like the Blightfather, and then even some of the ones on 9 like the Executioner and the Brawler to some extent. But then you also have some that are really horrible. You have the Nosferatus on Dead of the Night, the Werewolves on Dead of the Night, anything on Dead of the Night. You do also have some horrible ones on Alpha Omega as well. I don't really like the upgraded Nova Crawlers that are on that map. You already know my opinion about Nova Crawlers. I don't really like them, so I don't really know why they brought them back into Black Ops 4. But you also have the electric ones as well, which aren't really too much better. They're just normal Nova Crawlers that can shoot bullets and teleport, which is just really annoying in my opinion. You also have the Catalyst on every single Chaos map, which single-handedly ruins all the Chaos maps for me because I hate these guys. You always have to kill the Ice one first, because if you don't, then all the zombies are going to be super overpowered, deal a lot more damage, and have a lot more health. And they're just really annoying in general. Overall, mini bosses is a really weak point when it comes to Black Ops 4. Now, Black Ops 2, on the other hand, doesn't really have that bad of mini bosses. Again, it's kind of a similar case when it comes to Black Ops 4. You have some really good ones, but also some really bad ones. You have some really good ones like the Panzer and the Brutus, which are phenomenal. I love those guys a lot. but then you also have horrible mistakes like the jumping jacks on die rise or the denizens or Avogadro on transit. Pretty much a very similar case when it comes to Black Ops 4, where it's two sides of a coin. You have some really bad mini bosses, but also some really good ones. On Black Ops 2, however, I would say there's a lot less when it comes to the horrible mini bosses. I do enjoy the mini bosses on Black Ops 2 a lot more. You also have Leroy, which I don't really know if he counts as a mini boss because you don't really fight him, but he's also really helpful around the map when you're playing on Buried. He's a really cool mechanic. I just wanted to shout him out for this section because he is actually up there in terms of better AI when it comes to zombies in general. Overall though, I think I'm going to have to give the point to Black Ops 2 for this one. Like I said, there are some horrible mini bosses on Black Ops 2, but a lot more horrible ones on Black Ops 4. So for that, it's very close, but I think I'm going to have to give Black Ops 2 the point for this one. Now coming into our next category, we have the weapons. Now the weapons on Black Ops 4 kind of just sum down to using the Helion Salvo. That's kind of the only usable weapon when it comes to weapons on Black Ops 4. Every single bullet gun is kind of forgettable. I don't remember any of them. I don't remember if any of them are really good or decent. They're all just kind of whatever because the Helion Salvo completely outshines Black Ops 4 when it comes to weapons. The wonder weapons on Black Ops 4 aren't too bad either. You do have some solid ones like the Scorpion or the Kraken to some extent, but then you also have some kind of crappy ones like the Raygun Mark II variants on Alpha Omega. Nobody really uses those. They're not really that good either way. In terms of wonder weapons, I would say that the best ones are probably the gauntlets on Ancient Evil. Other than that though, all the other wonder weapons are kind of meh or bad, so not really too strong when it comes to weapons on Black Ops 4. Granted, the only reason this might actually be true is because the Helion Salvo just completely outshines every other weapon in Black Ops 4, so for that, not really too strong when it comes to weapons on Black Ops 4. Black Ops 2 on the other hand is another two-sided coin where some of the weapons are really overpowered and I use them every single time, and they're some of my favorite wonder weapons of all time. And some of the other ones are really bad and I never want to use them or see them again. You have the Jet Gun, which is arguably the worst wonder weapon in practical use. On paper, it's one of the best, but in terms of actual use, the Jet Gun isn't really going to offer you that much. It's way too annoying to use and it can break down, which is just really stupid. You do also have the Staffs on Origins, which are up there with some of the best wonder weapons of all time. I love those a lot. You do also have the Vitrolic Withering on Mob of the Dead as well. Personally, not one of my favorites, but I can appreciate that wonder weapon. It's really cool. I do like it to some extent. Other than that though, when it comes to normal guns, you have some really solid ones like the Galil, the MG08, but then you also have some really bad ones like the SMR or the Cap 40. Overall, again, it's another situation where it's a two-sided coin where some of the wonder weapons and weapons are really good and the rest are kind of just horrible. But I think overall, I'm going to give the point to Black Ops 2 for this one because the weapons that are good on Black Ops 2 are really freaking good. You have some great wonder weapons like the Staffs on Origins and some great normal weapons like the MG08. Personally, some of my favorite of all time. It's just unfortunate that the other selection of weapons on Black Ops 2 aren't that great, but compared to Black Ops 4, I personally think it's a lot better. Now, coming up next, we got the Easter eggs. Now, the Easter eggs is a little bit of an interesting one when it comes to Black Ops 4. I know a lot of people don't really like the Easter eggs on Black Ops 4, especially some like Blood of the Dead. For me, I actually love and enjoy a lot of the Easter eggs that Black Ops 4 has to offer. 9 is one of my favorite because it actually makes sense. It follows through with the complete story. It follows through with complete steps that flow into one another, and overall is fun to play through. You also have Ancient Evil as well, which I've already said a ton of times is up there with some of my favorite in terms of Easter eggs. You have a great step, which is the Sharpshooter step. Personally, one of my favorites. It was carried over from Buried and was done well in terms of Ancient Evil. The Easter egg also utilizes every single gauntlet, so you have to get all of them upgraded and then you have to use them each in a certain way. The only Easter egg that I don't really like that much is maybe Alpha Omega, but even then, it's kind of just steps that are carried over from Gurad Krovi. They aren't too bad, they're just really forgettable. Overall, I don't really have too much of an issue when it comes to the Easter eggs on Black Ops 4. I know a lot of people like to say that Blood of the Dead is one of the worst because it's way too hard. For me personally, if you're a hardcore player, Blood of the Dead can actually be pretty enjoyable if you're playing through with friends. I know I had a lot of fun doing that Easter egg, believe it or not. Overall, I wouldn't say that the Easter eggs on Black Ops 4 are bad. I would even say that they're probably one of my favorites of all time. Black Ops 2, on the other hand, is yet another two-sided coin situation where some of the Easter eggs are really good and solid, and some of them are really bad. You have Transit and Die Rise, to name a few, which are the really bad ones. Buried is a really solid one. I do love Buried a lot. Really solid Easter egg. Mob of the Dead, I actually don't really like the Easter egg on that map that much. The entire Easter egg is just going to the Pack-a-Punch machine multiple times and then fighting each other at the end, which isn't really that interesting. In terms of story, it's really cool and fun. I do love it and appreciate it for that. But in terms of actual good gameplay substance, I don't really find too much enjoyment in the Easter egg on Mob of the Dead. Like I said, the only two that I do really like is Buried because of the sharpshooter test, and also just having a really fun, coherent Easter egg and story to go through. I also love Round Infinity. That was a really good step as well. And you also have Origins, which everyone already knows is probably up there with some of the best Easter eggs of all time. Overall, though, not really my favorite in terms of Easter eggs, but still pretty solid when it comes to those two maps. I'm gonna have to give the point to Black Ops 4 for this one, however, because I do love the Easter eggs on Black Ops 4 a little bit more. In terms of just pure substance and Easter eggs that are good, I think Black Ops 4 has a little bit more to offer for the hardcore audience. So for that, I think Black Ops 4 is going to get the point for this one. Now moving into our next category, we have game modes. Now the game modes in both Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 4 are actually really solid. I find both of them to be really good and honestly up there with some of the best in all of Call of Duty Zombies. Now with Black Ops 4, you do have gauntlets and you have rush mode. Rush mode is kind of like a PvP zombie style game mode where at the end, whoever has the most points overall wins pretty much. It's fun and all, but I personally didn't really get too much into it. Other than that though, you do also have gauntlets, which gauntlets is fun to some extent. Unfortunately, it doesn't really give you too many rewards when you do finish those gauntlets, so there's not really much of a reason to play them. But they're pretty cool, they're fun. It's pretty much just 30 rounds that you have to go through, and you're doing challenges throughout those 30 rounds, like using the SX model only. Just interesting things like that. Only problem that I do have with this game mode is, like I said, there isn't really any rewards that come with it. Black Ops 4 also comes with custom mutations. Now, custom mutations are a very interesting spin on the way that the zombies formula works. It's pretty much like a replayability mode where you can switch up all the different kind of attributes that are in zombies, like the rounds that you start on, the points that you start with, the weapons being available in the box, things like that. Really cool and interesting. I like the play box feel with it, how you can just customize the map to anything that you like. The only problem that I do have with custom mutations is that the Easter eggs aren't possible to do, which is a little bit annoying because that would be 10 times better. But overall, I would say that the game modes in this game are actually really solid and up there with some of my favorites. Black Ops 2, on the other hand, has some really good game modes as well. I do love Grief mode a lot. I think it was a really good game mode. Unfortunately, it was released a little bit too early for the time. I think if it was released now in the Black Ops Cold War and Vanguard era, I think it would be perceived a lot better. A lot more ways to stream and play against with your friends. 8-player zombies is a really cool, innovative thing. Never been done before and hasn't been done since Black Ops 2. I would love to see some sort of iteration of Grief come back. I think it was really good for the time and is probably up there with one of my favorite game modes in zombies. Other than that though, you do also have Churned, which it's alright. I don't really hate Churned that much. It's pretty much a game mode where you play as a zombie and you get to attack other players. It's cool, I guess. I don't really hate it. I don't really like it. It's kind of just a whatever kind of game mode. But overall, I would say that the game modes on Black Ops 2 are really solid. Not many that I hate. So for this category, I'm going to be giving the point to Black Ops 2 because overall, yes, there are more game modes and different ways that you can play in Black Ops 4, but most of them are lacking that last incentive thing to bring players back. Like, for example, Gauntlets doesn't have any rewards. Custom mutations, you can't use it with Easter eggs. So I think if they were to go a little bit further with the game modes on Black Ops 4, they would be perfect and the best we've ever seen in zombies. But since they're not, I would say that Black Ops 2, since they're more finished, is a better overall game mode experience for zombie players. Now moving into our next category, we have replayability. Now replayability is going to be a really objective category for most players in zombies. For me personally, I do love Black Ops 4 a lot. I love the way that you can replay through the game. I love how there's different challenges that you can do for dark matter. Granted, it's a little bit annoying that it's not too different from the one from multiplayer, but I still do love the challenges a lot. I love how it utilizes killing every single different type of mini boss and heavy boss in the game. I love how you have to play different maps in order to get those challenges done quickly and effectively. I love the custom mutations. Granted, even though you can't do the Easter egg, they still can be really fun to play through just to kind of randomize the gameplay a lot. You can just put in a ton of Blight Fathers on the map if you're playing on 9 and just screw around and have a good time with that. I do love Rush Mode. It's a way to bring you and your friends together to play zombies. I don't really like gauntlets too much, but it still is a way to challenge yourself and improve yourself in different kind of aspects. Overall, I would say that Black Ops 4 is a really replayable game. Granted, it's probably not the best in terms of replayability, in terms of getting enjoyment out of that replayability, but there's so many things that you can do in Black Ops 4 that it would be stupid to say otherwise. Black Ops 2 also has a lot of replayability as well. There's a lot of different ways that you can play throughout Black Ops 2. First of all, you do have different ways that you can set up the game. You can change the round that you start on. You can add Hellhounds to the game or not. It was kind of an early custom mutations for Black Ops 2 before it became really popular into the later years. Unfortunately, there isn't really too much else that you can really do with these settings. You can change it from easy mode to original mode, which doesn't really make too much of a difference, but overall it's kind of appreciated, especially for the time. Not many people knew that this would kind of be a feature to return to later games, so really appreciated for that. It also has grief mode and churned, which they're fun to play once in a while, but I wouldn't really say that they're really replayable. Grief is incredibly replayable with friends if you can get the right group for it. If you can get 8 players on, it can be a really fun experience for zombies. But other than that, I would say that the only thing that's really replayable when it comes to Black Ops 2 is a map like Origins, where you can constantly improve your Easter egg speedrun attempts and whatnot. Other than that, the replayability, it's there for Black Ops 2, but Black Ops 4 just has it better in my opinion. So for that, I'm going to have to give the point to Black Ops 4 for this category. Now coming in for our last category, we have perks. Now perks are very, very different between both of these games. I wanted to save it for the last one because even though they're both really different, they both share ups and downs that make them very, very closely related in a way. For Black Ops 4, the way that they did the perk system was completely removing all of the clutch perks that people so heavily relied on and just made it a base stat that you can spawn with naturally. Like you spawn with 200 health, which is pretty much jug. You spawn with 3 quick revives if you're playing on solo. You get double tap 2.0 if you pack a punch your gun multiple times, and you can get speed cola if you buy all of your perks and unlock your modifier. Now, the reason that Treyarch made this system was actually to stop having players choose the same perks over and over again. They hated the idea of having clutch perks that people would just select over and over and over again. In the process, they didn't really accomplish what they wanted to do because people still choose Dying Wish, they still choose Victorious Tortoise. Stamina up as a modifier is what I usually run every single game, and I don't really find myself switching between perks every single time I'm in the game. It's also really hard to do so because you can't change your perks in-game. It's only menu options, which does really suck. And there isn't really much of a personality with these perks anymore. They're just kind of randomly thrown on a screen, randomly given faceless identities, which just makes them feel alienated from zombies in general. Overall, I could see what they were going for with this perk system, but it fell flat because people would still just pick whatever perk was the strongest in the game, that being Dying Wish, Bandolier Bandits, Time Slip on a modifier slot. Later in the game, when the Helion Salvo was meta, people would use PhD Slider. Overall, what they tried to accomplish in Black Ops 4 just didn't work whatsoever to try and make it different and better than the original perk system. Now, Black Ops 2, on the other hand, has the old reliable perk system that everybody knows about. You have a 4 perk limit, you buy the 4 perks, and that's kind of it. You get the effects, there's no special bonuses that you get on top of it. The perks on Black Ops 2 are really, really broken and overpowered to some extent. If you're playing on Mob of the Dead, there's only 4 perks that you're going to get every single time. That's going to be Double Tap, Speed Cola, Jug, and then Electric Cherry. If you're playing on a solo game on any other map, you're only going to go for Jug and Quick Revive as your first perks to ever pick up. This could lead to some serious problems because then you only have 2 other perk slots available to spend on whatever you want. If you're playing on a map like Origins, you're probably going to want Stamina Up. You're probably going to need Stamina Up if you're doing the Easter egg as well. And then you're kind of just left with 1 perk slot where you kind of just pick between Speed Cola or Double Tap because it's just the original that you already know exists in the game. There isn't really too much variety when you pick between the perks in Black Ops 2, but all of them are really solid. Everybody knows what Juggernog is if you've ever played or listened to zombies. These perks overall are just very iconic. I wouldn't say it is the best perk system. Personally, that goes to Cold War in my opinion. I love Cold War's perk system a lot more because there isn't a perk limit and there's actually variety between which one you want to buy first. With Black Ops 2, there isn't really much of a variety between the perks that you select. You pick the same ones every single game. If you're playing on a solo game, you're going to pick Quick Revive first, then you're going to go for Jug right after, then you're probably going to pick Double Tap and Speed Cola next because those are just the perks that everybody knows and loves. Everybody knows what those perks do even if you've never played zombies in your life. So for that, I don't really like this perk system that much, but I will say it is better than Black Ops 4, so it's going to be getting the points for this category. Now for our final score, we have 4 points towards Black Ops 2 and 3 points towards Black Ops 4. Personally, I started with Black Ops 2. Everybody knows that it's personally one of my favorite games of all time. Avoiding bias, I still do think it is better than Black Ops 4. Unfortunately, Black Ops 4 just couldn't compete much when it comes to the actual base game itself. Granted, there's so many things that I do love about Black Ops 4 as well, like the phenomenal map locations, the different kind of ways that you can play the game as well. But it just can't compare to the original experience that I know and love when it comes to Black Ops 2. So for that, I had to give the win to Black Ops 2. Anyways, guys, if you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, do all that. Leave your comments down below if you want to see me do any other type of content. Check out the Comfy Cushion podcast, link in the description. And yeah, I got nothing much else to say, so peace.